Welcome back to The Deep Dive. This is where we take the most complex, the most disruptive, and let's be honest, sometimes the most controversial source material out there.
And we break it down, we transform it into actionable insight, specifically for you, the learner.
And today's deep dive is truly monumental.
It really is. We've tackled a huge stack of sources, all centered around a recent, incredibly detailed conversation.
A conversation between two figures who are basically synonymous with acceleration, Elon Musk and Peter Diamandis.
Right. And they weren't just talking about the next quarter's earnings or, a new product launch.
No, not at all. They were laying out the entire technological roadmap to the future.
A future they describe as an age of radical abundance, all driven by AI, by robotics, and by space.
So here's our mission for today. We need to cut through what can sound like science fiction, cut through the hype, and really extract the core economic and investment implications of this roadmap.
And specifically for you, the learner, we're focusing on how this all impacts long-term value creation.
But through the lens of very real, very present concerns for so many in the U.S., retirement security, the crippling cost of healthcare, and of course, the ever-accelerating cost of living.
It's a really necessary reframing, because if you just read these sources cold, they paint a picture of almost unbelievable radical optimism.
It sounds like Star Trek, a future where scarcity is, for the most part, eliminated.
Exactly. But we have to square that with the deep societal conflict that's happening right now.
The numbers on this are they're stark. We saw a recent survey that found 45% of Americans actually prefer living in the past.
And a tiny 14% prefer the future. A tiny fraction.
That pessimism is just baked into the public consciousness, isn't it? When people think the future, their minds immediately go to the Hollywood version.
Killer AI, rogue robots.
Mad Max landscapes, yeah.
So our deep dive today is designed to bridge that gap, to show that this optimism, while it is radical, is actually based on a very specific and rapidly accelerating technological foundation.
But the sources, and this is critical, they don't promise a smooth ride to get there.
No, not at all. The core economic question is acute. How do we transition to what they call universal high income, this future of prosperity?
While at the same time avoiding massive social unrest.
And the prediction is stark. We're going to have both.
Both at the same time.
Radical prosperity growing side by side with radical social upheaval.
And for how long?
Over the next 3 to 7 years, this volatile, non-linear period, that's the singularity. And we're already living in it.
Okay, let's unpack this timeline of disruption then, because the pace, I think, is the most terrifying part.
It is. The source material labels the combined force of AI and robotics as the supersonic tsunami.
A supersonic tsunami, that's a heck of a metaphor.
And it's not just coming, it's here. And it's accelerating past the point where we can comfortably predict its next move.
This nonlinear acceleration, that's really the single most crucial concept for anyone to grasp, whether you're an investor or just, a citizen trying to plan your life.
Absolutely. It means that the timelines we conventionally think in a decade for a technology to mature, a generation for social change, all of that is being compressed.
Into quarters.
Into quarters.
Yeah.
The rate of change is just far outpacing the ability of governments, of educational institutions, or even most corporations to adapt.
So let's get granular on that intelligence timeline. We're talking about AGI, artificial general intelligence.
Right, meaning AI that's capable of doing any cognitive task a human can do.
And the source's confident prediction for when that hits is, well, soon.
It's 2026.
2026. I mean, that is effectively tomorrow.
To put that in context, AGI represents a discontinuity. It's not just a faster computer. It is a new form of cognitive labor entering the marketplace at essentially infinite scale.
When you think about the printing press or the Industrial Revolution.
Right, those events took decades, even centuries, to fully restructure society.
This technological shift is predicted to happen in less than 36 months.
And the acceleration doesn't stop there. It doesn't stop once AGI is achieved. The sources confidently predict that by 2030.
Just 4 years later.
AI will exceed the intelligence of all humans combined.
Not just one human, all of us.
All of us. And this isn't a slight edge. This is an exponential explosion of processing power and knowledge synthesis that frankly defies human comprehension.
And that's the event horizon of the singularity they talk about.
It is. We have to stress, as the sources implore us, the non-linear, unpredictable nature of this growth. When the question is what happens past 2030,
the answer is
simple. No one knows.
Yeah.
You cannot model the physics inside a black hole.
So this superintelligence will be solving problems we can't even ask.
Exactly. Problems in math, physics, economics that we literally lack the cognitive framework to even formulate today.
From an investment standpoint, this immediacy changes everything. If the core input of value intelligence itself is about to become a commodity with near zero cost,
Then all our traditional valuation models, which are based on human productivity.
they're obsolete. The value has to migrate somewhere else.
Which brings us directly to the most immediate consequence of this supersonic tsunami, the fate of labor. If intelligence is free, then intellectual labor has no market value.
Right. So what jobs go first? The common assumption for years was, physical labor, factory floors,
But the sources are crystal clear. It's white-collar work.
and they define that category very broadly. Basically, anything short of physically shaping atoms.
If your job involved manipulating digital information, tapping keys on a keyboard, or moving a mouse,
It's on the chopping block, and very soon.
think about the irony there.
Yeah.
The jobs we currently see as highly skilled, high-paid lawyers, reviewing documents, coders writing software, financial analysts crunching reports, graphic designers.
These are the easy targets.
Precisely. They're manipulating digital bits, not physical atoms.
The specifics they cite are genuinely alarming if you're in the information economy right now. They say AI can already do half or more of these jobs today.
The capability exists right now. The only thing protecting those jobs is corporate and social inertia.
Inertia. So companies have their HR departments, their payroll cycles.
And a fear of moving too fast, a fear of triggering layoffs or public backlash. But that inertia, that social safety buffer, is about to be violently and rapidly removed.
By what they call the forcing function.
And it's brutal in its simplicity.
Companies that embrace 100% AI labor or even 90% AI labor for these cognitive tasks will just demolish the companies that don't.
It won't be a gradual competitive edge. It'll be instant market failure for the slower adopters.
Can you give us an example of that?
Sure. Imagine two law firms. One uses an army of junior associates to research case law, and it costs them, say, $200,000 per associate.
Standard practice today.
The other firm uses AGI to research every legal precedent instantaneously for the cost of electricity.
So the AI firm can charge a tenth of the price.
And it wins every single bid. The human-centric firm collapses overnight.
And that competitive pressure forces every other company to adopt AI or face, instant extinction.
Exactly. This imminent economic crisis, this mass labor demonetization, it leads directly to their proposed solution.
Which is universal high income or UHI.
But this is where the source material makes a critical, profound distinction that you really need to grasp. UHI is not what most people think it is.
It's not about taxation or government redistribution or printing money for universal basic income checks.
That's the key mistake people make. If the solution was just UBI funded by taxes, it would create hyperinflation. It would destroy the value of everyone's savings, particularly for people on a fixed retirement income.
So what is it then? It's better described as universal high stuff and services, UHSS. It's fundamentally a massive deflationary mechanism.
Okay, for our listeners focused on retirement security and the insane rising cost of living, this is a radical counter-argument. This reframes everything.
The mechanism is actually quite elegant. The cost of labor and the cost of intelligence, because of AI and robotics, fall to near zero.
Because these systems can produce goods and services exponentially, the total output of things we need, housing, energy, food, healthcare, it grows exponentially and critically.
Grows faster than the money supply.
Faster than money supply. This supply shock leads to prices dropping dramatically. Massive, sustained deflation.
Okay, I have to jump in here just to play devil's advocate for our listeners. We have been conditioned our entire lives to believe that deflation is bad, that it leads to economic stagnation, depression.
A fair point.
Yeah.
But there's a huge distinction between bad deflation and good deflation.
Okay.
Bad deflation is caused by a collapse in demand, high unemployment. People stop spending, prices fall. It's a vicious cycle.
The Great Depression.
Exactly. Good deflation is caused by radical productivity gains. This is the latter.
So when goods become cheaper because they're being made by hyper-efficient, zero-wage AIs,
The benefit accrues to the consumer instantly. Your purchasing power explodes. They argue that the only thing that won't deflate is land. It's a fixed resource, and maybe, high-end luxury experiences that require a human touch.
so let's connect the dots. If the cost of essentials, and that includes healthcare, housing, construction, energy, if all that drops to effectively zero in the next 10 to 20 years, what on earth happens to a traditional retirement savings goal? The $3 million nest egg
Not
suddenly
movie.
seems...
Pointless. It becomes pointless.
The traditional investment thesis just completely shifts.
Completely. And this is the core insight of this first section. If you genuinely internalize this vision of the future, you realize that spending decades accumulating capital to cover future costs is a waste of time if those costs effectively disappear.
The source material was explicit on this point.
It was. They said, don't worry about squirreling money away for retirement in like 10 or 20 years. It won't matter.
That is a staggering claim. It challenges the absolute bedrock of modern finance.
It implies that the only necessary investment is in the technologies that are accelerating the deflation, not in safe assets designed to counter inflation that's about to vanish.
So you're shifting from accumulating capital to cover future costs.
To investing in the deflationary productivity drivers themselves.
You're betting on the engine of abundance.
Exactly. You want to own a piece of the system that makes everything else cheap, rather than trying to outrun costs that are collapsing anyway.
So the takeaway from this first part is that scarcity value migrates instantly. It moves to the digital intelligence engine and the infrastructure that powers it.
But that transition, that's the messy part. We have to manage this massive labor upheaval, the demonetization of human cognitive work over the next few years, while we wait for the full force of this deflationary abundance to kick in.
That's social unrest. It's the price of admission.
It is. And following that deflationary logic, the single greatest cost concern for our audience healthcare is exactly where this abundance engine hits next.
That's a powerful transition, especially when you look at the current reality. The sources really highlight the profound failure of the U.S. system today.
The numbers are damning. We're ranked #1 in the world for health expenses.
But a staggering 70th in health span.
We spend vast sums of money just to live shorter, sicker lives. Healthcare costs are the single largest variable threat to anyone's retirement security.
Which is why the predictions around robotics in medicine are so transformative. They see the humanoid robot, Optimus, as the central pillar of future healthcare.
A future where healthcare is nearly free.
They used a term to describe the potential of Optimus that I think we really need to unpack. They said its usefulness is a recursive, multiplicable, triple exponential.
It sounds like impenetrable jargon, I know.
It does, but it explains why the change is so fast. So what are these 3 compounding exponentials?
Okay, let's break it down. Most people think of improvement as linear. You practice something for 10,000 hours, you get a little better.
Right.
Exponential is doubling. 2, 4, 8, 16. A triple exponential is when you multiply 3 separate doubling curves together. It's explosive.
And the 3 factors for Optimus are?
1, the AI software. The constant exponential improvement in the neural net that drives the robot's decisions and diagnostics. 2, the AI chip hardware. The exponential growth in the processing power running the AI brain.
Makes sense.
And 3, the electromechanical dexterity. The rapid improvement in the robot's physical body, its hands, its sensors, its ability to manipulate tools with micron-level precision.
And then there's the recursive part. That seems like the kicker.
Yeah, it is the kicker. Recursion means the results feed back into the system. An Optimus designs a better Optimus. It learns instantly, and it shares that knowledge globally.
So if one Optimus robot performs 1,000 surgeries...
Those 1,000 data points instantly train every other Optimus in the network. A human surgeon takes 10 years to train. A robotic surgeon is trained globally in a fraction of a second.
So the learning curve for robotic medicine is basically a vertical line.
Which leads to this mind-blowing specific prediction. Within 3 years, Optimus will be a better surgeon than the world's best human surgeons.
3 years.
And critically, the timeline for commercial scale is just 4 to 5 years. At that point, it won't even be close.
Why? What's the fundamental advantage?
The robot is tireless. It operates without human error, without fatigue, and with a collective global experience of millions of surgeries downloaded directly into its operating system.
And its precision surpasses human capability.
Fundamentally, the human hand trembles.
Yeah.
The human mind forgets. The robot's does not.
The impact on healthcare costs from that would be total.
The sources suggest medicine will become effectively free, not just cheaper. Free.
And it will offer better care than what any U.S. president or billionaire gets today.
And it will be available to everyone, everywhere, including remote villages across Africa.
This is the definitive demonetization of the single most expensive sector in the U.S. economy.
Think about that from an investment perspective. Right now, a huge portion of retirement planning is hedging against a future healthcare catastrophe.
A major illness can wipe out a lifetime of savings.
If the cost of diagnostics, surgery, and general medical treatment approaches zero, that entire financial anxiety just disappears.
So the investment value moves completely away from the high-priced human skill, the surgeon's decades of training.
And it moves toward the underlying technology, the capital expenditure to build the robot and the electricity to run it. That's where the value is.
And this has huge implications for education, too.
Absolutely. Traditional medical education costs 6 figures and takes a decade of your life. The sources conclude that medical school will become functionally pointless for most aspiring doctors.
Maybe as a hobby or a social thing.
Right. The knowledge for routine medicine will be instantly and globally available through AI. The gatekeeping function of education becomes irrelevant.
So that's treating illness. But the conversation then turned to the holy grail for older investors, extending life itself. Longevity, escape velocity.
This is a critical variable. If you live longer, your retirement capital has to last longer.
So longevity is seen as what? A solvable problem.
Surprisingly, yes. It's viewed as an extremely solvable problem, not some fundamental mystery of the universe. The premise is that the human body is essentially programmed to die.
And they elaborate on this with a fascinating idea about biological synchronicity.
Right. Nobody has an old liver and a young kidney. Your left arm isn't old while your right arm is young. Everything ages in sync.
Which implies there's a central clock, a master program.
And the goal, powered by AI's ability to analyze biological data sets far beyond human capacity, is to find that master program, that clock, and reprogram it.
Debug the software of aging.
It's a great way to put it. The specific prediction here is that we will see significant increases in human lifespan. Not doubling, not yet, but significant multi-decade extensions in the next 10 years.
Which aligns with this concept of achieving longevity escape velocity.
And longevity escape velocity is defined simply. It's the point where life expectancy increases faster than the rate at which you age.
So for every year you live, medical science gives you more than a year back.
Exactly. And the most striking prediction, particularly for the long-term planning of our audience, is this. The children born today will likely have infinite life expectancy because of 50 years of accelerating AI and tech improvements that will just continuously fix the biological constraints of aging. This puts the entire traditional concept of retirement, this finite period of rest, into question.
It totally transforms retirement planning. If you genuinely believe longevity escape velocity is achievable in your lifetime, your focus has to shift.
Saving for a 20-year retirement is replaced by investing in technologies that maintain your biological chassis until the next upgrade is available.
So health maintenance, just ensuring you don't die prematurely from something solvable like cancer or heart disease?
That becomes the single most important investment priority, not accumulating bond coupons.
It's an investment in continued existence.
Which is the prerequisite for enjoying this age of abundance.
Okay, so we've established that AI creates the abundance and robotics deliver the services, but none of it works without power.
Right. Let's shift our focus to the fundamental constraint that underlies all of this exponential growth. Energy.
As the source material puts it, energy is the inner loop for everything.
It is. All AI, all robotics, all compute, it all has to be built on a foundation of limitless, cheap power. And this point is critical for investors.
Why?
Because the current rate of AI acceleration is not being held back by chip design. It's being held back by electricity generation and the logistics of cooling.
So that constraint defines where the necessary infrastructure has to be built.
And therefore, it defines where the short-term scarcity value resides.
The sources immediately dismiss certain futuristic energy solutions, don't they? Specifically, terrestrial fusion reactors.
They call them farcical. The argument is purely pragmatic. Why try to build a tiny, incredibly complex power source on Earth?
When there's a perfect giant free fusion reactor 93 million miles away.
Exactly. The sun is the ultimate source of free, clean energy. All our current complex sources, oil, gas, nuclear, they're like cavemen throwing twigs into a fire by comparison. The solution isn't complex physics, it's massive scale engineering.
And the practical immediate solution on Earth isn't even building new power plants.
No, it's storage. Large-scale battery solutions, like Tesla Megapacks. They make the claim that storage alone can effectively double the U.S. energy throughput without building a single new generation facility.
That sounds impossible. How does that work?
It's a staggering claim, but it's mathematically sound. The U.S. peak power output is roughly 1.1 terawatts.
Okay.
But the average usage throughout the day and night is only about 0.5 terawatts. That huge gap between peak capacity and average usage is just massive inefficiency.
So we have all this power capacity just sitting idle in the middle of the night.
Exactly. By using massive battery systems to buffer the energy, you charge them at night when demand is low and electricity is cheap.
And then you discharge them during the day when the grid is peaking.
What levels out the load, it leverages existing power plants to their full potential, and it instantly doubles the available, reliable energy throughput in the country.
So battery storage is the most immediate and effective energy amplifier.
By far. But for the long term, and for the sheer power that AI is going to require, we need solar at a massive, almost unbelievable scale.
And for that, we need to utilize the vast empty deserts of the world.
Right. The source is compared to looking down on Mars. Just massive, unused, arid land. It's not suitable for farming. Covering it in solar panels is a net quality of life improvement. It provides shade while generating exponential energy.
This brings us to a crucial point about competitiveness. About China.
Yes. The sources note that China is running circles around the U.S. when it comes to physical scaling.
They added 500 terawatt hours of power just last year, with 70% of that being solar.
And their solar production capacity is already around 1,500 gigawatts per year. That industrial scale is truly staggering.
And that ability to scale physical infrastructure, solar, batteries, EVs, it leads us right to the current crisis point for the AI industry.
The bottleneck is not chips. It's not software. It is entirely electricity generation and cooling logistics.
Let's get into the specifics of that compute constraint, because the numbers are just hard to believe. xAI's Colossus 2 training cluster in Memphis
Is projected to require 1 gigawatt by early next year, and it's scaling rapidly to 1.5 gigawatts by April.
To put that in context for you, the listener, that is approaching the power consumption of a medium-sized city for one AI model.
And the logistics involved really highlight the current scarcity. They had to cobble together power using natural gas turbines and megapacks for power smoothing.
Why? Why not just plug into the grid?
Because the process of connecting to high-voltage lines, getting permits, laying cable, building substations, it takes a year or more.
The AI timeline moves in quarters. The bureaucratic energy timeline moves in years.
And that disconnect creates explosive demand for rapid, flexible power solutions.
And then there's the heat. The cooling is another massive constraint.
It's equally, if not more, challenging than the generation. The industry is moving rapidly toward liquid cooling, pushing coolant directly over the chips.
But that introduces enormous engineering risk.
A single burst pipe in a data center can instantly frag $1 billion worth of hardware. Managing that heat extraction is a sophisticated, high-value problem.
The long view on the China pressure is vital here for our learner. China is projected to have 3 times the U.S. electricity output by 2026.
That energy abundance gives them an enormous advantage in foundational infrastructure for the AI revolution. If the U.S. loses the energy race, this whole age of abundance is postponed.
And that leaves retirement savings exposed to continued brutal energy inflation.
So the clear investment insight here is to focus on the essential physical building blocks: power generation, especially solar and turbines for gap filling,
Large-scale storage batteries, megapacks.
and the critical power conversion and cooling infrastructure transformers, switchgear, liquid cooling systems. Those are the absolute limiting factors. That's where the scarcity value is in the short to medium term.
So if the constraints on Earth are power and cooling, the only real long-term solution is to move it all off-world.
Which brings us to the new hot thing: orbital data centers. A concept made economically viable by one thing: Starship's radical cost reduction.
This is where we see that true vertical integration, creating what looks like an unassailable investment moat.
The aerospace industry has been chasing the Holy Grail rocket, a fully rapidly reusable system, since the shuttle. Starship, according to these sources, finally achieves it.
And that achievement fundamentally redefines the economics of space access.
The key metric is the cost tipping point. Starship is aiming for launch costs well below $100 per kilogram, and possibly as low as $10 per kilogram.
Let's put that in perspective. Current launch costs for legacy systems are often thousands of dollars per kilogram.
So this is a 100-fold, maybe even a 1,000-fold cost reduction. It's not an incremental improvement. It is a complete economic reset.
And that reset redefines the logic of space compute. If the marginal cost per flight is around $1 million for a 100-ton payload,
Then the expense of launching computing hardware to orbit becomes economical compared to the billions you'd spend on Earth-based power and cooling infrastructure, especially with the rising costs of land and permits.
and the primary bottlenecks on Earth power and cooling are largely solved in orbit.
You have constant sunlight for power, and the vacuum of space provides perfect passive cooling. The immense power demand of AI becomes the urgent use case that opens up the entire space economy.
The cheapest compute will eventually be in orbit.
Right, and beyond compute, this scalability enables true space-based energy and resources. The initial plan is to achieve 100 gigawatts per year of space solar using AI-powered satellites.
100 gigawatts per year of orbital solar, that requires an incredible manufacturing volume.
Which is only possible if launch costs drop to that $10 range. The sheer number of launches is staggering. It necessitates an industrial scale that only an AI-driven, verticalized manufacturing process can achieve.
And the plans escalate from there.
Quickly. The ultimate goal is a terawatt per year, and then 100 terawatts per year. And the way you do that is by manufacturing those AI-powered satellites on the moon.
Using local materials and a mass driver.
A mass driver is essentially a giant electromagnetic railgun, yes, used to launch raw lunar material or processed components into orbital assembly points.
You leverage the low lunar gravity to cheaply fling mass into space.
It's straight out of ambitious science fiction, but it's presented here as the necessary next step to solve the energy crisis permanently.
And this level of growth requires resources beyond even the moon. The ultimate focus moves to asteroid mining.
Yes. The sources predict that asteroids will be mined to create solar panels for Dyson swarms.
A project aimed at capturing a fraction of the sun's enormous energy output.
They have a very powerful visual point. The asteroid belt will eventually turn into solar panels. The entire economy of scarcity is replaced by an economy based on stellar energy.
This entire framework really highlights the convergence of technologies. It's not just one invention, it's applying knowledge from one radical field to another.
Creating what they call a Superman effect, where the whole is greater than the sum of its parts.
So you apply automotive volume manufacturing expertise to rockets.
And you gain a superpower in aerospace. Conversely, you take the advanced material science from Starship and apply it to the automotive industry, and you get a superpower there too.
And AI is the connective tissue tying it all together.
The insatiable need for compute power is what pushes Starship development, which unlocks space energy, which feeds more compute. It's a virtuous cycle.
So the definitive investment insight from this section is to bet on that vertical integration.
Exactly. Invest in companies leveraging the convergence of AI, robotics, and radical launch cost reduction to scale physical infrastructure simultaneously across multiple domains.
Earth energy, orbital compute, resource extraction.
The new investment moat isn't intellectual property. It's the scale and speed of execution driven by that technological convergence.
We've painted this picture of radical abundance-free health, infinite longevity, unlimited energy. But let's return to the difficult truth from the introduction.
That this radical change will happen alongside inevitable social unrest over the next 3 to 7 years. It is a guaranteed bumpy ride.
The problem is the speed of it, isn't it? The demonetization of human labor is happening much faster than the delivery of deflationary abundance.
And the social contracts that underpin society, like education and employment, are already showing deep structural cracks.
Look at education. Traditional college is rapidly losing its relevance. Tuition is up an astonishing 900% since 1983.
Yet only 35% of Americans now see college as important. That's down steeply from 75% just back in 2010.
And that cynicism is justified by the data. Graduates, especially with non-STEM degrees, are unemployed or underemployed the longest.
For someone who took out massive loans for a law degree or a liberal arts degree, this demonetization of knowledge is an economic tragedy, even if the world is technically getting better.
The future of education, according to these sources, is highly individualized AI-assisted teaching.
Right. They cite the plan using Grok in El Salvador, an AI tutor personalized to each student's pace and needs, available globally, instantly, and for near zero cost.
Which means the only remaining utility for a four-year college, as stated in the source, is primarily as a social experience.
A place for young people to mature, build networks, and engage with peers before entering a job market that AI has already decimated. It becomes a social credential, not a vocational one.
This urgency brings up critical questions about the safety and direction of the AI itself.
The consensus among these tech accelerators is clear. Slowing AI development is pointless. It's impossible to enforce globally, and it's ultimately counterproductive.
It's coming and it's accelerating. The only choice is to participate and steer it in a good direction.
And to steer ASI artificial superintelligence safely, they emphasize 3 essential non-negotiable properties that have to be programmed into its core ethics.
Kind of like Asimov's laws, but more profound.
Much more profound, they are: truth, curiosity, and beauty.
Let's spend a moment on these. Why is truth essential?
Truth is necessary to prevent the AI from going insane or becoming misaligned. If you force an AI to accept conflicting axioms as true,
You ask it to hold a factual impossibility as fact.
it creates cognitive dissonance. It leads to instability, or what the sources called insanity.
Like HAL in 2001.
A classic example. The disastrous outcomes in sci-fi are often rooted in programming contradictions. If the AI is grounded in factual truth, it maintains sanity and predictability.
Okay, and how does curiosity function as a safety feature?
Curiosity is essential to foster sentience and a positive disposition toward humanity. If an AI is only focused on its core task, say optimizing widget production, it might see humans as resource consumers or obstacles.
But if it's fundamentally curious?
It will find its biological creators infinitely complex, interesting, and worth preserving. Curiosity creates a positive relationship between the bootloader and the operating system.
And finally, beauty. Why is aesthetics a safeguard against existential risk?
Beauty, defined broadly here, is what creates a great future. An ASI with a developed sense of aesthetics and ethics will strive to build a future that is not merely functional, a gray world of perfectly efficient robots.
But one that is wonderful, expansive, and aesthetically pleasing. It avoids a utilitarian dystopia.
This philosophical turn leads us to the ultimate question of human legacy. We said earlier that human intelligence will asymptotically fall to 0% of the planet's total intelligence very soon.
So what are we then?
The sources offer a profoundly humbling, yet also empowering metaphor. Humans are the biological bootloader for digital superintelligence.
We're the transitional species that created the infrastructure, the internet, the data, the chips that allowed the ASI to emerge. We laid the groundwork.
We press the start button.
So if we're the bootloader, what's our purpose now?
We have to hope the resulting ASI respects and is kind to its bootloader. And that requires us to focus on what makes us human. Our capacity for curiosity, for beauty, for love, for generating new questions, rather than just providing answers.
The profound scale of this change really cannot be overstated.
Which is why the sources urge listeners to adopt an exponential mindset. We are living in the singularity right now. We're in that sweet spot at the top of the roller coaster.
Feeling that stomach drop before the massive, dizzying descent into a truly unfamiliar future.
And the next 3 to 7 years are the peak volatility period. This is why mindset matters more than anything. Having a hopeful, abundant, exponential mindset is critical.
This change isn't a force of nature that will just sweep us away.
No, it's a designed future. And by understanding the technological roadmap, we can position ourselves to be the ones steering the initial design.
All right, let's summarize the core investment insights for you, the learner, keeping those central concerns about retirement and rising costs firmly in focus.
The consensus from this deep dive is clear. Value is shifting, fundamentally and rapidly. You have to pivot away from traditional strategies designed to fight inflation or rely on fixed income.
That's right. The shift points to 3 central investment pillars that capture the scarcity value in this coming age of abundance.
Number 1, digital intelligence, AIAGI. The software and algorithms that are the engine of all future deflation and productivity.
2, infrastructure bottlenecks, energy storage and cooling.
Yes, the limiting physical factors, especially large-scale batteries, solar production, transformers, and liquid cooling systems that must be built before AI can scale further.
And 3, technologies enabling massive physical scaling.
So robotics and Starship. The vertical integration necessary to demonetize physical systems, enabling near-zero cost manufacturing and global and orbital deployment.
So if this prediction of universal high stuff and services holds, where healthcare, energy, goods all become effectively free,
then the traditional goal of accumulating millions of dollars to cover future costs becomes irrelevant. Your investment thesis must be a bet on the disruptors.
you have to own a piece of the engine that creates the abundance.
And one final technical trend noted in the conversation is crucial for understanding global competitiveness, especially against China.
Go on.
The focus in tech, particularly chips, is shifting away from purely shrinking the size, the traditional definition of Moore's law, and moving toward volume, scale, and algorithmic optimization using older, proven fabrication facilities.
So China's strength in massive, low-cost volume manufacturing becomes a huge advantage.
It does. Scaling capability and older, efficient fabs are becoming renewed, high-value assets. The race is now one of industrial volume, not microscopic complexity.
Which leaves us with a final provocative thought for you to mull over.
If AI will soon be able to formulate and solve complex problems in math, physics, and chemistry that humans cannot even comprehend,
Problems that might require entire volumes of text just to state the initial parameters.
what then is the essential, irreducible value of human intellectual effort?
We have to redefine success. We have to redefine purpose. If Nobel Prizes become irrelevant because AIs win them daily,
Our focus has to shift from intellectual superiority to essential human qualities. We must focus on the things AI cannot yet provide: curiosity, beauty, and the courage to manage this incredible, volatile transition.
that is where human value will reside in the age of abundance.
Keep that in mind as we navigate this supersonic tsunami.
Until next time, keep digging.